There are two types of people in the world. Those who wake up in the morning feeling like this, and those who wake up in the morning feeling like this. We know which one we are, but the question is, what's the difference? Carl Jung, a very famous psychiatrist, said at the end of his career that over 1/3 of the patients he's seen actually suffered from no clinical neurosis, but rather from a want of meaning or purpose in their lives. Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist and survivor of the Auschwitz death camp, said, as soon as one of his fellow inmates lost their purpose, they'd be dead within a day or two. Purpose makes us whole. Purpose gives us life. Purpose is what gets us out of bed in the morning. And without it, we're drifters. Drifting through life with no direction, no destination, and no end in sight. And life is dull, mundane, monotonous, and meaningless. Sheen called this the anxiety of life. Now, some of us will say, just get through school, get a good job, follow your dreams, get married, raise a family, and make a lot of money. That's your purpose. And these are all good things that are part of purpose, but can't be purpose. Because first of all, what if these things don't work out for me? Then what? And second, what if all these things work out for me? Then what? Others will just try to avoid the whole thing and convince ourselves that there's no such thing as purpose. And we'll try to replace the want of purpose with things like pleasures, experiences, and excessiveness. But you know as well as I do, this gets old real fast, and the older we get, the louder those questions become. So what is it? What's my purpose? And how do I break out of this anxiety of life? Well, Sheen offers two solutions. The first is this: go out and help someone. Today, help my neighbor. Who's my neighbor? Anyone near me who's suffering. The poor, the lonely, the sick, the stressed out, the sad, the broken, the beaten down, the depressed, the tired, the hungry, the addicted, the lost, the hurting. Basically, we're all the neighbor. Because when we're living in this anxiety of life, we're living totally for ourselves, trapped in all the junk inside our own heads. And the quickest way out? And the second thing is this: be open. Like our phones receive all kinds of signals from God knows where, we have built-in antennas able to receive infinite signals from outside. We call these. But they've long been disabled in atrophy, and we can't get a signal anyway because we're surrounded by so much. Enable it, and be open to receive some sort of encounter from God. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, or how far away you think you may be. These signals are coming down on all of us, even as we speak, like rain. Just be open. Now, some of us may be thinking, all right, that first one makes sense, but why do I need that second one? The whole God thing makes me a little uncomfortable. Because if the first one is this, the second is this. If the first is this, the second is this. If the first one is this, the second is this. Because the first is, go out and love my neighbor. And the second is, opening up a permanent connection with pure love itself. That is purpose. And this purpose is like the mother of all purposes, and takes all those other purposes into her arms and lifts them all up. Purpose is not something we rationalize or intellectualize or figure out by just thinking about it really, really hard. It's something we do. And when we do, we don't find purpose. Purpose finds us.
We instinctively know this, and I think the reason why people will still identify as spiritual, they might even say Christian, is that they know that there's something great in the tradition that brought them this far, but they don't really know the sources. They've never really read the book, so to speak. So they are kind of double-minded. They want the benefits of religion per se, but they don't want the challenge. They don't want the steps to growth. They don't want the transformation.
And if someone were to just come right out and say, I'm not spiritual at all, I don't believe in a God, that might be a step that's too far for some people. Because deep down, most people know there is a God. And deep down, they know that this God may be calling me to something. So I want to keep him. I want to keep a certain belief in God, call myself spiritual. But I want to set up certain boundaries. So if I can just say I'm spiritual, but I'm not a part of a church that's calling me to something, then I can kind of define for my own life and keep control over my life in the direction I want to go in with my life, as opposed to really hearing the voice of God and him calling me to a higher standard in my life.
Yeah, it's very comfortable to stay living a half life where you're vaguely spiritual and you're trying to be that good person, and yet you have no way to chart your progress. You're going in a circle in a way. It's like wanting the Stanley Cup but not playing any games. You want the Olympic gold medal, but you don't want to have to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out. You don't want a coach saying, here's what you need to tweak, here's where you need to be encouraged to do better. And so ultimately, you're going to worship something or someone. And the great thing about the gospel is that the true God perfectly matches our deepest desires. And it's a desire that's not satisfied by anything in this life, which is why God gave us heaven, where we'll be basking in this beautiful mystery forever.
What about a Christian who might say, you know, I have a relationship with Jesus, and I read the Bible, and I just want to have a personal relationship with Jesus, but I don't want to have a complicated church, you know, with bishops and popes and rules and catechisms. Why can't I just have a personal relationship with Jesus?
The relationship with Jesus has to be, first and foremost, a relationship of teacher and student, of savior and sinner. And it's not enough just to love Jesus and have a relationship with him. You have to obey him. He did teach things. He didn't just die on the cross and say nothing. He wasn't like a mime going through the motions and I wonder what he meant by that. No, he spoke. He founded the church upon Peter, not upon Patrick, not upon Dr. Sri, upon Peter. That's the church he wants us to belong to. The Jesus and me idea is not found in the New Testament. St. Paul always talks about the church as the body, as the bride, as the community. Even you see this in the Old Testament. It's the people of God. It's not just Moses and God. In fact, when Adam was first created, he had a problem called aloneness. The solitude was not good for Adam. So God gave him the helpmate, his equal, his partner. And so from that fundamental community of man and wife, these expanding communities through Abraham, through David, through the prophets, and ultimately through Jesus point to a universal family context. We are saved, as blessed Pope John the 23rd said, we're saved like clusters of grapes. Not one little individual grape up on planet Zorkon, but no, in the context of the vine and the branches. It's in us. It's never just me and Jesus. That doesn't fit with the Bible.
So Jesus wants a personal relationship with each of us, but that personal relationship is not just about the two individuals. It's about the whole family, everybody that's involved in the relationship with Christ. We're called to love Christ through our neighbor and through the other people that he places in our lives.
Yes, he knows that we need each other in addition to needing him. That's why he gave us the church. It's not Jesus with these millions of individual strings and he's somehow listening to all of them at once. No, the people on the other end can talk to each other. You know, heaven will be a community, a party, a bash, a banquet in which there's the host and the bridegroom and the party, but there's also the party goers. And that individualistic, sort of atomized, separate compartment idea doesn't fit with any of the sacraments. It doesn't fit with any of the vision that we get in the New Testament about the church as a group, as a community.
What about the early Christians? Couldn't they did anybody in the early church just say, well, I have a relationship with Jesus. I don't need to listen to this pope. I don't need to listen to this bishop. I could just believe my own things and I can just interpret the Bible my own way. Did you ever find that in the first couple centuries of Christianity?
Not at all. Ted, you can't find any evidence of anybody believing the Jesus and me idea in the early church. All the writings of the fathers of the church are echoes of the New Testament record. And that record is definitely, there's a church, it's visible, it has sacraments, it has a hierarchy, it has people you can go to get the final word where the idea of thus saith God can happen. It's called the Catholic Church. The contrary views of the church as somehow invisible or you don't need a pope or a bishop or a leader at all, totally foreign to the early church. They did what Jesus said we should do, like do this in memory of me, not write this or read this in memory of what I wrote. So as Jesus did by his example, so the church did.
Another reason some people may want to push the church back and say, I just want to be spiritual, is that they look at the church and they see it's messy. They see sinners in the church, they see scandal in the church, and that's been there throughout the centuries. Why would I want to join a church that's full of a lot of sinners?
It's always been full of sinners. Jesus chose sinners to be the apostles. The church has always been messy. It's always been a bit of a scandal. All the 12 apostles, except for John, abandoned Jesus. They ran away. Peter denied him 3 times. Peter, the impulsive, cowardly, the nerfiest apostle, is called by Jesus rock. He chooses the least reliable one to be the foundation of the whole church. Judas betrays him to his death. The church has always had sinners in it, starting with me. And I like to point out to people who ask that question, well, aren't you too a sinner? Aren't you in need of the same, source of strength? The answer, well, yes, if you're honest, there's areas of growth for all of us. But it would be a big mistake to leave Jesus and Peter because of Judas. The greatest advertisement for the Catholic Church is the saints. And the worst advertisement of the church are Catholics who don't want to become saints. It's important to judge medicine by people who take the medicine, not by people who neglect the medicine. So the question of the scandals of the church, it's real, but it's secondary to who is Jesus for you? He's asking you, who do I say that I am? What's your answer?
Jesus, where are you? Help me. I'm already here. I've come for you. You called me from the inside. Your tears, your desires of your soul, your brokenness of heart have all moved me to you. Don't you know that the anxiety I have for you is far more than you could ever have for yourself? My child, learn to talk to me like a child talks to his mother. Let there be no barriers between you and me. Why do you find it easier to talk to somebody else than to talk to me? I know you better than anyone else. And my conversation is simple, humble. Nowhere will you find the understanding, the consolation, the appreciation that I have. And nobody's as interested in you as I am. I love you infinitely more than anyone else does. You're never alone. I'm as near to you right now as your nose is to your face, waiting, ready to share your burdens and solve your problems. No human being is capable of giving the perfect friendship, which I offer to you now. I know you so much more than you know yourself. Why do you treat me as a stranger? Come to me with no fear or anxiety or doubt. Have confidence in my love. I wish to call you my friend. Earthly trials are going to come and go rapidly. Even the longest life on earth is so short. But this is not your home. Your home is with me, in perfect, unending happiness. Stay close to me, and you'll find peace. Don't let any passing tribulation dishearten you. And above all things, rest in me.